Welcome to Bella in Your Business. My name is Bella Vasta, and today I'm joined with Bri Seeley. I want to explain to you guys that we sought out someone like Bri Seeley because we have this incredible jump mastermind, and a lot of people are really fighting their inner self or their inner being, and they're really questioning, can I do this? And can I build the business the way I want? And am I good enough? And all of these psychological demons that we battle with, myself included. None of us are immune to it. And I don't feel like we talk about this enough in general in business, let alone on this podcast. So I've invited Bri Seeley on. She's a born catalyst and natural truth teller with a history in counseling, psychology, and entrepreneurship. So she's got the whole background to really help us burst open this topic. Despite her 2 degrees in fashion design, she unknowingly was taken down a path of healing and transforming lives through a series of accidents and coincidences and divine guidance. She combines personal experience, psychological concepts, and universal laws with over a decade of coaching and counseling expertise to support people in turning the lives of should into the lives of becoming their future selves of today. She's also been featured on a lot of places like The Today Show, Thrive Global, Online Medium, The New Day, Northwest, PBS, and Huffington Post. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Bri.
Thank you. And I also want to say myself included too, right? So everything that I'm about to share with you is still stuff that I struggle with on a daily basis as well.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, I don't think any of us are immune to this whole being human thing.
No kidding. And I think it's really important to actually acknowledge that we are all human and there are humans running our businesses. So Bri, in the world of pet sitting and dog walking, we naturally lead from the heart. We're natural caregivers, right? So that means that we naturally, a lot of us, there's a big trend in our industry, they're caregivers, that they don't take care of themselves, they take care of others first. We have a lot of Facebook groups online. That's how a lot of people actually do congregate these days, which is good. But it's also bad because you don't have that human interaction. So what I've done is I've actually created this mastermind group. We've got about 50 people in there. And what inspired me to reach out to you is because, one day we just had this breakthrough in there. And one person got on very bravely, very vulnerable, and was crying on video to our group because she felt safe. She said, guys, I'm not okay. And we told her it's okay not to be okay. But it's not okay not to talk about it with someone that you feel comfortable with. And we see this actually, it's called compassion fatigue in our industry. Well, it's out there, but you see it a lot in our industry with pet sitters and veterinarians. But we don't talk too much about how we feel. And I think it's really important to remember that the person running a business is actually a human. I myself have dealt with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. And I talk about it because I had a baby born at 12 ounces and I went through my whole thing in EMDR therapy. I believe it's really important to talk. So today, that's why I want to just bring in all of your knowledge and guidance. So acknowledging that someone is actually a human being in their business. How can this, just acknowledging it, how can we use this to our positive and not to our detriment? Because we feel like we're just business machines all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I like to combine both aspects of it because oftentimes, so I look at when I had a day job and I felt like I was operating my life with a light switch.
Yeah.
And, I would be, turned on as an employee in this moment, and then I would turn that off, and I would turn on, I was running a business on the side, and I would turn that on, and then I would turn that off, and then I'd be at home, and I'd turn myself on and turn myself off, and it created so much disconnection within myself. And in any moment, too, I was like, wait, what hat am I wearing? Am I saying I'm a fashion designer? Am I saying I'm a counselor? Am I, where am I? It was just so stressful that I just finally had to, kind of throw my hands up and be like, I can't be I can't be disconnected. I can't be jumping from box to box to box and turning different parts of myself on and off. And so I really started diving into what does this idea of holistic living look like? Because in any moment, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a coach, but I'm also, a healer, and I also have my own things. Like I've been exploring joy a lot more recently. So how do I bring joy into all of those other aspects of my life, including being a business owner? Because at the end of the day, if we're not allowing ourselves to experience joy as entrepreneurs, why are we doing it? Right? Like
Yes.
most of us, I came from 9 to 5. I didn't have joy there.
Yes.
So why am I in a business that I'm running, I have control over,
Yes.
that I'm not being joyful in? And for me, it's not an either or conversation. And I'm constantly exploring this idea of both and. How can I be an entrepreneur and be in joy? How can I be an entrepreneur and be in my humanity? Because at the end of the day, especially service providers, caregivers, all of these things, that's why we do it. We have businesses that were created from the heart. So turning off your heart and not allowing yourself to be human in a caregiving occupation or business is like counterintuitive.
Or vice versa, only turning it on for the work and then turning it off for those you love or even yourself, right? Like use that love for yourself and those that I love that light switch analogy. I've never heard it that way. That is profound to me. A lot of people might not know my real name is Danielle, but my nickname is Daniela Bella, and I started my company, so I'm known as Danielle. Or, I'm sorry, I'm known as Bella, and it's because of that nickname. And I often find you're blessing me right now because I often find like I'm like, all right, I gotta turn Bella on, and then Bella turns off, and it's like Danielle is tired. So you're talking about this light switch, and I'm like, you're speaking to me. I get this, but I can see how our audience might feel this way too. We pick up that phone and we turn into this. Thank you for calling XYZ Pet Sitting Company. As soon as we put that phone down or the email down, we're like, oh. So that's a novel concept, Bri, about it's it's not an or.
And continuing to operate in that like kind of push pull
Mm-hmm.
is exhausting, and it's going, it's gonna burn you out, which is why I'm like, how can I maintain my wholeness
Yeah.
and all of the parts of me in everything I do?
So how
Even when
do
I'm
we do
showing
that?
up, I mean, even when I'm showing up on the couch, like watching Criminal Minds, like, this has been something I've been playing with, is like, how can I be in my greatness and
Uh-huh.
my wholeness, whether I'm being interviewed, whether I'm at yoga, whether I'm watching Criminal Minds, like, what does that feel like to me?
Yeah.
And so it's been something I've been consciously sitting with, especially as I'm sitting down, like watching Netflix. I'm like, am I doing this because I'm trying to numb out? Am I doing that? Like, what is my energy in this moment? And how can I give myself permission
Yeah.
to be whole in every moment of my life?
That's profound. Like, I really, really enjoy this. This is really cool. How have you been able to be yourself watching Criminal Minds? What does that look like?
It's a process still. This is definitely like this conversation of greatness. So, one thing, I have a coach as well, right? So,
Sure.
I'm by no means have arrived or any
I
of,
don't think any of us really have.
well, we have an idea that we'd like to, but so I just started working with a coach about 2 weeks ago. And so it's been a really conscious practice of like me taking a pause to give myself an hour of Netflix doesn't mean that I'm abandoning my greatness.
Uh-huh.
I can still, and so for me, it's just a consciousness of like, okay, as I'm watching this, what is my energy like? Where are my thoughts at? How am I showing up in this moment? Um, am I, because I used to watch Netflix as an escapism and I would like shut down and I would turn off.
That's the
And
exact word I was just thinking of when you were saying that, and I see what you're saying. Like that's powerful because you're like, oh, I do it on Housewives. I love Bravo and the Housewives. I'm like, I'm gonna go escape and watch them freak out, be all full of drama. But it's I guess it's being conscious of that and realizing it's not escaping. It's finding joy in it if that's what you find joy in, right?
and for me too, so I'm a total cat lady. Like
Uh
that's
huh.
I love pets. So it was a good synergy that I'm on here. So a lot of times too, that's my opportunity to be with my kitties, and they're like, oh my God, she's sitting still. and they'll like
Ah,
both flock to me. And so if I find myself numbing out or checking out or escaping, then I'm also missing those moments. And my girls are turning 12 this year, right? So I'm getting aware that I only have a few more years left with them.
uh-huh.
And so I'm like, if I'm escaping in this moment, then I'm actually missing out on in like really being present and enjoying the time that I have with these two little furry souls.
Uh-huh. That's
So
beautiful.
it's brought me a few different layers, and I do my best too when I'm doing, because I used to put it on and then also get on my phone as well, which was like an added layer of escapism.
Sure, sure.
And I've been doing a lot about like turning my phone on airplane mode or putting it across the room so that if I'm doing something, I'm actively engaged in that thing
Yes.
and not just totally gone.
Yes. That's such a good point. The phone, just the phone, having boundaries with that and putting it, on the other side of the room or whatnot. I like that. So, all right. So when you're, it's kind of a nice baby step or parlay to understand how we can enjoy our normal activities that we do enjoy as an enjoyment, not an escape. How can we also do that with our business? How can we use that mindset with our business?
Yeah, I mean, it's really because let's be honest, there are a lot of things in our businesses that we don't want to do, that we don't
Yeah.
like to do.
And it's kind of
Hashtag taxes.
it's contradictory because we also started our business because we wanted to do it, right?
Yeah. And the thing that I've really played with, and this was something that was invited to me when I still had my day job, was the more that you can, like, so in terms of law of attraction, right? Like attracts like. So the energy at which you're existing in, the emotions and feelings that you're existing in, is what's going to attract things outside of you to come into your sphere as well. So, like, when I had my day job and I was turning myself on and off and I hated it, like I was existing in this energetic state of hate.
Yeah.
And I was just upset and angry all of the time. And being in that energetic vibration, even if it's only during 6 to 8 hours of your day, it's still permeating different aspects of your life. And so for me, it was about how do I fall in love even with things that I don't enjoy?
Uh-huh.
And I just had a decompression call with one of my clients, and she said this exact thing. She just quit her job, and for the last, I think she was there for 6 weeks after she gave her notice, 6 weeks after we finished working together. And she said that she just fell in love with exactly where she was in the moment, even though she didn't like it.
Right.
She allowed herself to fall in love with it because being in that state, being in that energy of love, her business has opened up and expanded and she's thriving in it more in the last like 2 weeks. Actually, I think this week was her first full week of being an entrepreneur than she ever thought was possible
Mm-hmm.
because she allowed herself to go there. And so it's that transformation of really, okay, I'm not particularly fond of this thing, but how can I be at a place of joy, be at a place of whether it be acceptance or, peacefulness with
Yeah.
exactly what I'm doing right now in the moment, because I know that being in that state is going to help me attract the other things that I'm wanting in my life.
So would you say it's relatable to, finding the joy in every moment? It's okay, like acknowledging your thoughts, not just letting them run away from you, but what am I feeling right now? Where am I carrying it? What am I saying? What are my tapes in my head saying about this? Do I want that? Do I want to feel do I want to feel about it? Do I want to think bad about it? Or do I want to consciously find the beauty or the joy or the love in what I'm doing? Well, you know what? That client really stressed me out. They lied to me, or my employee did something wrong, but I'm going to just hold on to the fact that I'm so happy that I have employees or I have clients or I'm living in a world where I can make money taking care of for pets rather than being in China where they eat them. I mean, not to make fun of that, but like, really fighting for the control of where you allow your mind and inadvertently it to manifest in your body, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people have this understanding that our thoughts are like rule us. or that we don't have control. We don't have the ability to actually change our thoughts.
Yeah.
And we do. We absolutely have the power to change our thoughts. Now, I will say it is not an easy process, especially
No.
depending on how old you are. Like we usually the programming, the thoughts that we run in our head are things that were picked up probably between the ages of like 1 and 8.
Yeah.
So depending on how old you are, right? Like a lot of the stuff I'm working through right now is stuff that's been in my system, it's been in my brain, it's been programmed into me for 30 years. And so I'm having to go back now and essentially reprogram 30 years worth of stuff. Now, if you
Yeah.
walked down the same path every single day, multiple times a day for 30 years, it'd be pretty well worn, right?
Hmm.
So you're literally having to, I see it as like if you're walking through a forest, you're walking down this really well worn path. These are your thoughts every day in, day out. You're thinking all the same things, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to create a different result, you have to create a new path. But the problem with that path is it's going to be completely overgrown. There's going to be brush, there's going to be ivy, there's going to be probably like stingers and poison and like all these things. You're going to have to like cut through all of it.
It's not a walk in the park.
No,
It's a
and
walk through the jungle.
I think a lot of people look and they're like, oh, well, you've had so much success in your life and all of these things, and so it must be really easy for you. And I'm like, I spend 3 hours a day minimum doing this stuff. There's people say when you're cutting down a tree, the actual act of cutting down a tree is about 10% of the actual process.
Uh-huh.
You spend 90% of your process sharpening the axe.
Hmm.
Because if you're not sharpening your axe, you're going to cut down that tree with a butter knife and it's going to take you forever and it's not going to work. So I spend, like I said, at least minimum 3 hours a day sharpening my axe.
Wow. And so
Because
tell us some of those techniques that you use to do that. Do you do that through the yoga, through studying, through meditation, through what do you, how
all,
do you do it? Because there's
all of the
so many
above,
different kinds of mediums, right? And it's not
right?
like you're studying and doing the same thing every day. It's you're mindful of it for 3 hours. Like, tell me what that looks like.
So the thing I always recommend for people is there are a bajillion different activities you can do, and everyone's going to tell you that it needs to look a certain way and all these things. And my invitation always is you need to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Now, that's going to be a process. It's going to take a little time. For me, it took, I think, at least a year for me to find out what worked and what didn't work.
So how many
So
things did you do that did not work, but you were so determined to figure out what worked?
so first, it took me 6 months to even start
Yeah.
because I read this fantastic book. I know the author, The Miracle Morning, and it was like you have to do 6 things. You have to do each thing for 10 minutes, and so you have an hour, and you have to do all 6 things equally for 10 minutes, and that's your daily routine. And so I would like set my alarm, and if I laid in bed for 3 minutes too long, I was like, well, guess I can't do the routine this morning. Wah, wah. And so I finally just one morning woke up and was like, I'm just going to give myself permission to start.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down and I did a 3 to 5 minute meditation. And that was the beginning of my morning routine. So what it's kind of transpired into and what I encourage people to do is really ask themselves, what do I need today?
Yeah.
Because some days for me, I do need meditation and journaling and yoga and visualization and affirmations and all of those things. Some mornings I literally need to like color on the floor with my cats for 3 hours or run a hot bath or
Uh-huh.
like it just depends on the day. Today I did something that I don't usually do and I scheduled a phone call before 9 a.m. So every single day is different, but I give myself that space
Yeah.
to just be with myself and sharpen my axe. Whether that looks like I'm reading a sales book or a spiritual book or journaling or doing a hypnosis or meditating or, I mean, gratitude, or there are so many different modalities,
Yeah.
but you have to figure out what works for you.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is that there's no right or wrong way to do it, but the right thing to do is to commit to yourself and that it might not start right away. It's you got to warm up the engine before you can pull out of the driveway, and it might take a while because we've been we're walking through that jungle, getting bit and scratched and poked in the head by branches. Bri, you brought up something really interesting that we've also been talking in the mastermind about because most successful people that I know and I follow they have a very, I don't want to say strict morning routine, but they have a morning routine that they're dedicated to. And it might change and it might evolve, but give me your thoughts on starting the day with some sort of a morning routine, a ritual. They're called so many different things. I have a feeling you got some stuff in there for our audience on that.
So there's a few different things. I firmly believe that the energy in which you begin something is the energy that persists throughout the creation of that thing. So for
Yeah.
me, starting my day, it's like setting an intention, right?
Uh-huh. Intention.
And you can wake up every day and just be like, whatever. And the universe is just going to send you whatever.
Yeah.
But if you wake up every day with intention and you say, I am committed to being my best self today, and I'm going to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or an hour or 3 hours, whatever that
Yeah.
looks for
Yeah, whatever
you,
it is.
being my best self, then that's the energy that, like, you're literally starting your day in that energy, and that's the energy that you're going to be able to carry through the rest of the day. I remember when I had my day job, I would like stay in bed until the last minute, get ready in a hurry, make my breakfast, eat in the car on the way to work, and just this frantic, 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 and my whole day, my whole life was just this like race.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't grounded, I wasn't connected, I wasn't in tune with my intuition, myself, what I
Yeah.
needed, what I wanted, all that stuff. And now it's such just second nature to me. Like my intuition talks to me constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I can have a thought and know whether or not it's truth for me. I can have a conversation with someone and know whether or not I want to work with them. Like it's
Yeah.
just, again, that sharpening of the axe. I'm so clear and connected with myself, my higher power, the earth, like all of these things that I feel more solid and
Mm-hmm.
more, I don't know, I
Grounded,
guess
intentional.
connected. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love the morning routine is it
Yeah.
really sets me up for a successful day. And then of course I have like weekly routines where, end of today I will sit down and figure out what worked this week and what didn't work
Yeah.
this week. And I open up my energy for my following week on Sundays of like what's my intention for this week? Where is
Uh-huh.
my focus going to be?
Mm-hmm.
All of so I have a lot of rituals that I use just
Yeah.
to keep myself on track. But for me, I see things like relationships. So I see my business as essentially like another person, right? Because it makes it a little
Yeah.
more tangible. So me and my business talk, we converse, we have a relationship. In fact, I wrote an apology letter to my business this morning because of how much stress and pressure and expectations I put on it. And like, if that were me and all that stress and pressure and expectations were put on me as a person, it would break me. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I've been doing to my business.
Yeah.
And so I wrote an apology letter this morning to my business being like, I'm sorry that I did this to you. And I promise to be a better partner to you from here on forward.
Yeah. I love, there's so much I think I want to, this is very like, I don't do this, but I really would love for you to come in the mastermind and talk with everyone for like an
Oh my
hour
gosh,
on this
I
stuff
would
and
love
get you in
that.
the hot seat because we're at 23 minutes on this podcast and I'm writing notes as we're talking because I'm like, all right, let's talk about surrounding yourself with awesome people. I love
Oh,
what you said about the PM routine to kind of reflect. I love what you said about, you called it setting your energy for the week. I put it down as Sunday intentions. You know, it's the difference between letting life take over you or you control it. And I love it. And I experienced that in my own life, Bri, when I came out of my anxiety and depression. Something inside of me just said, you know what? I joined this group of ladies and I joined this program and I started working out for 30 minutes a day and I did it and that became my routine. But what also happened is when I was working out, like cursing that I was working out, I was getting that anger and energy that I had in me from the hurt and everything that I had gone through. But more so, it actually started evolving. It became my meditation because I was trying to forget that I was working out and how could I help people that day? What was my message going to be that day? And I would pick up things that the trainer said, even though I would hear her say the same thing every Wednesday. I just started listening differently and thinking like what could I bring to my community as a coach, and it just more so than that, having that routine made me feel empowered, Bri. It made me feel like, yeah, I got a win for the day. If the whole day just goes to kaputs, I did that for me and I took care of myself first. And it was amazing the difference that I felt inside of myself because I said, world, you stop for a minute. I'm doing me first. Then everyone else can have a piece of me. And it's powerful, girl. I love having you here. You're inspiring and
Thanks.
motivating me.
Well, and that too is like really, again, operating from that place of wholeness because
Yeah,
as service providers and caregivers, like you said, our natural propensity is to turn outward and like take care of other people. But if we're empty and we're not giving or serving or caretaking from a place of wholeness, we're actually doing our people a disservice.
yeah,
Like, I don't want to receive from, from my coach or my community or whatever from a place of emptiness. It
right.
doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. So, caring for yourself and putting yourself first and filling up your cup, becoming whole within yourself is actually not selfish.
Yeah,
It is being of service to those around you as well.
yeah. So as we move to the end of the show, which I don't want to do, but I have to, because I promised everyone that they could listen to these episodes while they're driving or walking a dog, and by now your pet sit is coming to a close because they're roughly 30 minutes. Um, I know that you have a way to help us meet our future self and guide us to that because it's kind of a daunting thing. So, can you tell us about that offer a free offer that you have for our listeners?
Yeah, I love meditation, and I did a future self meditation not too long ago, and it was somehow seeing yourself outside of yourself and seeing the successful, like beautiful version of yourself.
Yeah,
But it's you, but it's also another person kind of too. It's a completely transformative experience. Everyone that's done it, all my clients just tell me how mind blown they are afterwards and how they start believing more about themselves and what's possible than they did previously because they can see it.
uh-huh.
And so I have a future self meditation that I give to people and send to people. If you go to meditation.briseeley.com, you can download yourself a copy of the meditation. And for anyone that's interested, if you want to send me what your experience was, I actually really love reading them because every single person has a different experience. They end
Yeah,
up in a different place, in a different setting, with different answers and things, and it's just so profound.
yeah. I love that. I love that. And for any of you who might be afraid of the word meditation or think meditation doesn't work for me, just remember that there's so many different ways to do this. Like I said, I put myself in a meditation when I was working out, Other people, I think the stereotype, we think we have to have our crisscross applesauce, as I say to my 3-year old, sitting, with our legs crossed, with our fingers touching our thumbs and saying but it's not always like that, you guys. And if you can, if you want to pour into yourself, I highly recommend that you just check it out. And right before we go, we are over time, but I have to ask because I'm curious and I'm sure my audience is, what was that Today Show appearance all about that you're on?
So 4 years ago, I had started contributing to the Huffington Post, and I wrote this really vulnerable piece about a decision I had made in my life. And it was honestly something my grandmother didn't even know. And so I wrote this piece, and I had like a full panic attack as I hit submit because I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, this is like, this, I was like, hopefully no one will read it. It's fine, whatever. So in 2012, I decided to be sterilized. So I've known for my entire life that I do not want to have children.
Uh-huh.
And so I took action to make that my reality.
Yeah.
And I wrote an article about what it's like to be a child-free woman and all of the judgments and expectations that you experience and other people's BS and just all of the things. And I wrote it, and it went viral. So not only did my grandmother read it, but like everyone read it. And 2 days later, the Today Show called me. I was at a Dodgers game with my sister. It was 9 o'clock, and I was like, "Why is someone from New York calling me? It's midnight there."
Yeah.
And it was the Today Show. And the next day, I got brought into the studio and recorded
Wow.
a segment about being child free and what it's like to be a young single woman that's child free. At the time,
Yeah.
I was 29.
Yeah.
when I had the surgery. And so it's going on 6 years now, but
Yeah.
I still face a lot of
Yeah.
judgments and talk, and dating
That's
is
powerful.
interesting. And
That's so, I'm glad that I asked you about that because I know, I have clients that have no interest in having two-legged children, and that's why they are pet caregivers. That those are the children, and that's okay. And you're right. I mean, there is a lot of stereotypical judgment. I have no idea what it's like to walk in your shoes, but I would love it if you could send me that article so I could add it to the show notes in case anyone listening
absolutely.
is encouraged by what you just said. So, Bree, we're so over time. I'm going to leave you with the last words there. How can people reach out to you?
They can find me on my website at briseeley.com. I love Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the places. Reach out to me. I love talking to people. I love hearing your experiences with, this podcast or the Future Self meditation. And yeah,
Wonderful. Well, thanks again for coming on and spending some time with us. You all, this has been another episode of Bella in Your Business. If you have enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to share it with your friends. Go ahead and comment and let us know if Bree just blessed your life. And don't forget to subscribe. And remember, when life gets tough, remember to always keep jumping.